Okay. Let's see if this is streaming here. Oh, there we go. Cool. And let's see if it's doing it on. Well, oh, so many screens. Come over here, mouse. There we go. Sweet.
Is this muted?
Nope. Now that's muted. That should be good. So are you going to be able to pull up comments and stuff?
Yeah.
Trying to find the chat. We just go into it.
No, I can do it here.
There we go. No comment chat. Can anybody hear me? No comment chat. Can anybody hear me? No comment chat. Can anybody hear me? Oh, cool. So this is going to be a little delayed. We'll just have to.
Okay.
So this is going to be a little delayed. We'll just have to.
Okay.
Volume off on that now. Okay, guys, we're trying to figure out some technical stuff. That's why we jumped on here a few minutes early. I think we got it down. We've got a little bit of a delay, like when we speak and what we're seeing. So try not to look at ourselves. We'll just go ahead and chat.
Better? Without that?
I think so. Actually, here we go. I'm going to refresh this, because then we can go in here and you can see comments here, and then I'm going to hide this.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Now I can see us live,
There.
and then we can see comments here.
And I'll block. That one's off then.
Awesome. We never do have sound, do we? Like people talking to us. Like it's not.
No, they have to type.
Okay, cool. All right. How many people do we have in here? 35, and can't tell on YouTube, but we're streaming on both YouTube and Facebook. This first time, well, we kind of tried this out about a month ago when we did the live stream with Ultra Pacer. And that seemed to work out pretty well. So we're gonna give this another try and see how it goes. So looks like everybody can hear us. So I'm looking at the comments on YouTube. Looks like people can hear us there, and we're getting some thumbs up and hearts and stuff on Facebook. So I think we're good there. Okay, we ready to start, or we want to give people a few more minutes?
Or I guess, I'll see the time. Yeah, let's start.
Okay. So, everybody, welcome. This is probably the 4th year we've done one of these. We started doing them a couple years ago and felt they were really helpful to runners to get a chance to ask some questions a couple weeks out before planning, and when you guys get to the briefing, like the in-person briefing on Thursday, I'm sure some of these questions that you'll ask will come back up, but that's okay. This just gives us a chance to kind of get a little personal not like face to face, obviously, but a chance to like get direct questions from online and stuff. And it's great too, because you'll probably see people answering some of your questions in the chat as well. So my name is Brian Gages. This is my wife, Shelly. We're the co-race directors. We've been doing this race for, I think this is year 7. And really excited to get this race going again. We were a little bit worried about the potential of a government shutdown, which had that happened and had it lasted a couple weeks, we could have been in trouble, and they may have shut us down. Luckily that it got extended and we're able to put on the race. I had a backup plan for y'all. It was going to be a lot different than what you signed up for. Wasn't going to be a 100-mile loop. It was going to be 5 20-mile loops in Pickett State Park region. But thank goodness we don't have to do that. But I do have a backup for if we ever need to do something like that. Let's hope we don't. So anyway, typically what we do in this Q&A is kind of walk through the runner's manual and answer questions kind of as we go, as people start asking questions. So feel free as we're kind of walking through the manual to ask questions in the chat, and it kind of becomes organic. Like we'll kind of shift around from we're looking at the manual to just answering your questions. So we'll walk through that. Shell, anything you want to add?
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, hopefully, the race takes place October 20th. It's a Friday start. We've been doing a Friday start for the past couple years. And it's based out of Pickett State Park, which is just north of Jamestown, Tennessee. We will have a pre-race briefing and meal and packet pickup the night before, the day before, on Thursday the 19th. One of the big things I'll just say up front is everything. Pickett is in Central Time Zone, so just be aware of all the times that are in the manual that we will reference are in the Central Time Zone, and it's really important to know that like a good portion of the race actually takes place in Eastern Time Zone. So like you'll start in Central, but it won't take long, and then eventually you'll be in Eastern Time Zone, and you're in Eastern Time Zone really a majority of the race until you get close back to the finish, back to Pickett, and cross over that line. So my recommendation for runners, crew, volunteer, everybody, is turn off your automatic time thing where it flips over. If you can do that on your phones and your watches, that will save some frustration when you show up at an aid station thinking it's one time and it's not. So that's one of the biggest things that we try to stress to everybody every year is like, please like realize that time zone can be a big deal if you're not paying attention to it. So let me kind of take a look here at the runner's manual. I don't know that I need to jump into all the like race rules and policies, but I'll kind of look over these real quick. We are a cup-free race. I think I mentioned that even in the last email. We'll have cups at aid stations for things like broth and soup and stuff, and even like Coke and that kind of thing. But try as much as you can to not use it. And if you use one, like try to reuse it, right? Like if you don't, just every Coke you get and get a new cup or whatever. So we're trying to minimize as much of the waste as we can while we're out there and our impact. what's another big thing on this rules that we'll go over the aid stations checking in, checking out, and cutoff times. But while I'm looking at it right here, I just want to mention that cutoff times is the time you need to be exiting the aid station, not arriving. So if you're getting in close to a cutoff, like right at a cutoff, grab what you need and get out of there, because they're going to be pretty strict. Besides just a couple of them that we mentioned in we have a few soft cutoffs, and then we have a few early aid stations that don't have cutoffs, but some of those later soft, there's a little bit of wiggle room there, but that's mostly to make sure that those aid stations are fairly remote, and it's hard to get a ton of people in and out of there quickly, which just means it'll take time if you don't make the cutoff. But the point is, like, we give you some wiggle room if you're coming in and you're still moving pretty well and you're not delaying the race. Like if the sweepers come in and they're like, hey, we're really behind because the runners that are coming in just ahead of them are keeping them behind from doing their job, then we're gonna most likely pull you based on what the sweeper says and what the aid station captain says. And that soft cutoff is really a hard cutoff 15 minutes after the main hard cutoff. We'll give you about 15 minutes as long as you're looking good and you're moving and not delaying the race. We have to do this because we can't have volunteers that are working the next up the line having to wait an extra hour or 2 hours for runners to show up because they're already 30 minutes late coming into the aid station. And maybe it's a soft, if we were really soft about it and just say you could pass through, you could show up an hour or so late, and it's just not fair really to anybody out there. So those are primarily they're going to be sort of judgment calls. If you're struggling and not moving well or delaying the race, we're likely gonna pull you at that point. But if you're in there moving and you're making up time and you're strong, and the sweeper, you may not even be with the sweeper, you may be ahead of the sweeper pretty well. That's just basically how those soft cutoffs work. So let me check comments. Are these comments scrolling?
Yeah, nobody's commenting.
Okay, so no, I haven't seen a comment recently. So okay, so I think, like, for the majority of the rules and policies, that kind of goes over that. Let's talk a little bit about group camp. That's the location where we start and finish the race. It is about a mile or two just north of Pickett State Park main office, where their main campground is, and their picnic area. And if people are familiar with Pickett, there's a big swinging bridge there at the main area. This is just a little bit north, like a mile or two north. You'll pass the main office, and then it's if you're coming from the south, it'll be on your right. And we've got that whole facility rented out. That's we made a move to Pickett about 3 years or so ago, and we did it primarily for the facilities that they have. They have 6 bunkhouses and a great meeting room where we can put on the race, do our briefing. There's a big kitchen there, and then they've got a big field for parking, and we can do some camping and stuff out of there as well. So on that note, with camping and stuff, if you need to camp, we still have spaces for tent camping somewhat. So if you need to do that, just reach out to me, or if you have, hit me back up. It's been a busy last week or so. So if you're still interested in that, if you're planning on just parking in your vehicle and camping out of your vehicle, you can just park in that parking area in the field. We'll have it kind of marked out, and you can just park like you would be showing up for the race on race morning. So if you're planning to come in like Thursday and just car camp overnight, feel free to just park in the field, and camp out of your car. The tent camping is done kind of around the edge, and it's the space. I mean, it's a huge field, so I think we'll be fine with fitting everybody. It shouldn't be a problem, but we definitely couldn't have everybody out there tent camping and stuff. So just try to be conscious of that, and try to keep your footprint fairly small. Also practice the leave no trace policies and stuff. I almost 100% sure we can't have fires out in that field, but there is a space where we can do a bonfire and stuff. So.
And another note about parking, just in general at Pickett, runners have to run through part of the area, and we've got people walking around all hours, especially coming in and coming out. If you don't find an actual parking spot, please go park in the field. Like, you can drop your runner off, you can turn around. There's a circle, it's like circular, so you can just drop them off and go around and go back to the field. We've had people kind of blocking the road because they've just pulled off a little bit. We've got some bigger cars, we've got vans, we've got trailers, we've got a U-Haul this year probably. So just kind of pulling off to the side isn't the best practice. If you're just dropping something off, that's fine. But once you're done, if you're not in a parking space, if we could ask you to go park in the field, we'll have it marked really well. And there was plenty of space last year. So,
yeah.
I would say there were probably 50 cars that were parked around the edge of the drive, the circular drive for the group camp. But there would have been room for them in the big field. So that was just, it's safety, and it's also for runner safety. We don't want them to have to weave in and out the cars and everything. So
yeah, so that kind of makes me think, or makes me want to transition a little bit to talking about the course. So last year we had to make a minor change at the start of the race, and we had to keep it at the end of the race because there is a trail that is still closed in, it's really in Pickett State Forest, and it's flooded. Like, beavers have dammed up. Although I haven't been out there over like recently. It hasn't rained a lot, so it could be down, but we will just be doing the same course we did last year. So the race will end this year coming in on a gravel, like a fairly long gravel stretch, like a 3-mile gravel stretch. And then the same road that you come into the group camp, that you drive into the group camp, is the same like finish line. Basically, you'll be coming in on that road. So just to everybody, like, and we'll mention this again at the race, just be cautious when you're driving down that road, particularly like in the
early hours Saturday.
Yeah, like all day Saturday, particularly when people are finishing. So just remember to drive slowly through there. Let's see.
Move on.
Scroll down. Yeah. Let me just, one last thing about group camp. So if you need, if you're looking to get into a bunkhouse, get a bed at one of the bunkhouses, or car camping still, you can definitely still do the bunkhouses, because then I think Run Sign Up has slots available, so you can get on and if you go to your account in Run Sign Up and under manage, for no business, there should be a place where you can do add-ons, and it's just an add-on. You can do the same thing if you need to purchase any more pre-race meals for like family or crew or anything like that. So and again, if you need to do the car camping or tent camping rather, just give me a shout. Okay, so let's talk about, Megan had a question about the course at Blue Heron. does Blue Heron Loop go clockwise? Okay, so we will be running it in the counterclockwise route. And the reason is, let me think this through. So they come down, hit that aid station. No, we may be running it the other way. Yeah. We have run it. So last year threw us for a loop because there was another issue with where the Park Service had us not use that concession area and we had to work under the bridge. That's what messed everything up last year. But I am pretty certain the way it runs is you'll come down off the bridge, you'll get aid, and then we'll run you under the bridge, and so you'll run that clockwise as well. So the course runs clockwise, Blue Heron will run clockwise, and then you'll finish along the river at Blue Heron, then into the aid station, and go up over the bridge. So it's clockwise, yeah. Hopefully that's not too confusing, but yes, you'll have more of the ladders and stuff. I mean, there's at least one or two ladders towards the end of that loop too, but not the like real big one. That'll be you'll be going up that ladder rather than having to go down it. So okay, all right. So course wise, obviously we're running the course clockwise this year. I think it's the easier way to do the race, to be honest with you. If anybody's run it last year or has run it in the counterclockwise direction, they know that the finish, the last bit, probably the last 14 miles or so are fairly technical. The section down from Peters Mountain is kind of gnarly, and it follows basically a drainage. The trail is sort of the drainage. Sometimes you're in the creek and you're definitely crossing over the creek quite a bit. Now the creek's maybe a lot lower. Hasn't been a ton of rain in the past week or past couple weeks. So, but yeah, that whole section, the last 14 miles going the other way is a lot tougher. This direction that you're going, it's going to be your first 14 miles to Peters. It'll be a lot. You'll have fresher legs. So I think this is the easier way to go. So I'm starting to see some questions course related. Let me answer those. You're allowing pacers this year to do the 6 mile loop at Blue Heron. Yes. That was excuse me, a recent change. Just looking kind of at the timeline, and with people probably getting in there close to dark, even just arriving at Blue Heron, it was going to be, I think that cutoff was right around 7-ish. I decided just to go ahead and let people go ahead and have their pacer starting right when they get Blue Heron. The nice thing about that too is if you have someone that's not up for a 14 to 40 mile stretch, like when you're going from Blue Heron out towards
or they only have one crew,
Ledbetter, it's a nice way to get a chance to run with a pacer, maybe a family member or something, or someone that, that being said, Blue Heron's a tough loop. There's a good elevation there. But we just felt it'd be a nice chance to run with another pacer, possibly before that section that gets real remote. And it could get dark for some people. So we wanted to just give that opportunity to you all. Let's see here. Do we have to cross the creek at Great Meadow? No, you don't have to cross the creek at Great Meadow. Not especially not going this direction. Now we may make some changes in the future to that, but for now you don't have to do that. And right now we only have one person signed up to work that aid station. I don't know, I put that out on social media. Hopefully, we'll have more by the time race comes. We'll send some folks down there. But with that being said, I think a decent amount of people will probably avoid crossing the creek. So Don't worry about that. If you don't want to get in and get your feet wet, you know, probably will get your feet wet later down the road when you're heading up to Peters Mountain, unless the creeks are just super dry, but we'll have to see. What's it say? Yeah, people did yell across to somebody who was checking times, and we may just have someone cross, like one of the
like,
volunteers go across and just like check off numbers. They've done that in the past. So I will say this, got some really good news from the Forest Service, from Daniel Boone. They are actually looking into getting a grant to hopefully build a bridge there. I don't know how long that would take, but that would be really sweet. So, you know, maybe down the road, there'll be a bridge there and we won't have to deal with this kind of weird crossing situation. So, okay. So let's see, I'm trying to think more course kind of related stuff. There's always a question about elevation, and we've kind of seen all over the map, like you can take the GPX file into, 20 different apps and upload it, and it's going to give you 20 different readings from all over the place, from like I've seen as low as like 11, which I know it's not that low, all the way up to close to 20. I think it probably sits somewhere in between there, in the like 14.5 to like right around that 14.5 is about where I think it is. And I think some folks have kind of confirmed that over the years that have run it. So yeah, so you can expect about 14,000 to 15,000 feet of climbing. So
we don't have a snake guarantee. So
did somebody ask about snakes?
Yeah, how many? We have no minimums, so that's anybody's guess. Was it last year they were all at night?
It was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we had a snake problem. Nobody got.
There were lots of snakes, but overnight, you don't expect to see them. So who knows?
Yeah, Timothy, I'm seeing your comment on YouTube. Yes, you'll do Cracking the Rocks first on the loop. You'll go through Cracking the Rocks. Then right after Cracking the Rocks, there's a big ladder climb, which kind of better to go up that than go down it on tired legs. But you'll go up that, and then you'll climb the out of the ridge, basically out of the gorge, and then you'll run up top a bit, and then you come down, and then you're along the river for a bit, and then you're back at the concession area of Blue Heron. So
lots of these.
Yeah, so back to the snake thing, like that year was an earlier year. We had to there was a scheduling conflict, so we had to put the race on like the first of October, and I think that played a big role at why we saw more snakes, or why people saw more snakes. I don't think I've seen one course marking, or not course marking, doing trail work at all this year, but we've had a ton of help this year from both Big South Fork and from Daniel Boone, and from the state forests and parks with trail work this year. So I just want to say, like, I don't know if anybody of them, a representative from the park services are in here, but if you are, I just want to say thank you for all the help this year. So 100 miles is a lot of trail to go over, and some of these trails near the campground and stuff get a lot of foot traffic and stuff, but some of the more remote stuff out there that we take you through does not, and it gets overgrown, and over the time of a year, get trees going down and all that stuff. So like, it is a trail race, so we obviously can't promise there between the time we started doing trail work and the park and the forest started doing trail work that nothing will have come down. But I know that they've been working their tails off to get the trails cleared for you guys. So it's a little bit more enjoyable. There's some sections out there that when they're not clear, they're not the most fun. I mean, not like Barkley crazy, but just, this is not Barkley. So we want a different experience in that.
Okay.
But
what about all the damn spiders?
Spiders.
Well, your headlamps will point them out at night, and
That's why.
probably see less.
That's why
in
you
the
wait.
day.
That's why you wait to the end to try to
Let
take the
everybody
lead.
get the
Yeah.
webs out for you. Someone said something about bees, which is a good point. If you're allergic or if you're not sure and have access to an EpiPen, we suggest you carry it with you. I mean,
Yeah.
you may be with people, you may not. And there are a lot of ground nests that may not be super active if it's cold, but if you step on it, it'll be super active. So if you're an EpiPen person, bring it with you. I would definitely suggest. And then someone asked, are aid stations accessible by car for the crew stops? The ones that are crew stops, yes, right?
Yeah. Any
hiking. I mean, so Peters Mountain, we're going to have parking on just one side of the road, which I guess we can bring up now, because it's just been a madhouse up there. So we're just going to tell people we don't know which side yet, but we will.
Oh, it'll be on the right.
Okay.
You'll be coming up Divide Road. So as you're coming to Peters Mountain, we'll have volunteers there helping with kind of directing that. But like in years past, it's the first crewed aid station. So obviously like everybody's going there. So the thing to do is there's a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of crew. Be prepared to you're going to have to hike in some, right? Like you're going to have to park out because there's going to be a lot of vehicles on some of these back roads or, back country roads. So
right. There are no parking lots, so to speak, except Blue Heron and Bandy, which so there are places with parking lots, but Peters especially, I would say, is really the main one. We're going to say park on the right and walk up. So it might be a little ways, but hopefully we'll have enough extra volunteers up that end that can kind of be like, oh, there's some spot, keep going. Or they're like, no, stop and park back here and walk. But you'll have tons of time either way to get to your runners.
Yeah. Before we get away from the bee thing, because a lot of people have been kind of chiming in on that. And actually, Travis Stover, the Pickett State Park park manager, sent me a text message reminding me to tell you all about the bees. So it is the bees the yellow jackets have been heavy. This area always seems to be. It hasn't really got super cold yet. We haven't had a real cold, but it looks like a cold spell is coming. So maybe that will help some with that. But as Shell mentioned, yeah, if you're allergic or you've had some issues where you've been stung before and you've swelled up, I get an EpiPen, carry an EpiPen, get some Benadryl, just have it with you. It's just, we'll try to make sure we have definitely Benadryl and stuff at aid stations. We'll have radios if someone gets in trouble, and we can get in touch with EMS. But if you've got problems with that, it's just something to be aware of. So all right, so we're kind of talking about crewing and getting around the course, because a question just came up.
I can answer that one.
About the best route from crews leaving Peters Mountain to get to Blue Heron. If you're going straight to Blue Heron,
Which they should.
Which you should.
I mean, you can always make a pit stop back at Pickett if you need supplies or something. If you're going back down the mountain, yes, just turn around and come back to group camp. But basically, you'll just drive back to Pickett, and from there, you'll take a left up. What is that? Something farm road, mountain road.
I mean, really, the best from Peters Mountain to get to Blue Heron is to go north. The thing is, when runners leave Peters, they're going to be on the gravel on Divide Road for 5 miles. So we don't allow crew to take Bald Knob is not a crewed aid station this year, and the reason is it just was a mess with parking. And in fact, crews did not get off the road, and they had blocked like a school bus. So, and I'm not laughing because I think that's funny. It's like it was a big deal. So
Yeah.
there's just not enough parking there. So Bald Knob is actually not a crewed aid station this year. So
Okay, so from Peters Mountain Aid Station, it's like a three-way intersection, and you come up from group camp, come up, it's called Peters Mountain Road, and then it turns to the left, which takes you straight north. When they leave, they're going to the runners are going to the right, which is now called Divide Road. That's so where the roads change names. You'll take Peters Mountain Road north.
There is, if you look in the crew guide, there should be all the directions are in the crew guide. Also, we have an interactive like Google map that you can click and turn on and off like directions and stuff from that. All that is really in it. In fact, you really should even be able to in Google Maps be able to like look up Peters Mountain and Blue Heron and route them. That's what I did. You can also find the GPX or the GPS points in the crew guides and the runner's manual. So you should be able to fairly easily get that if you've got access to these documents, which you should. So
Yeah.
the only thing is we're not going to allow any cars to go down Divide Road where the runners are going to be on the road for about 5 miles to the Spring Branch aid station. So
big training camp down. Trails look really good. There's certain area. The bees, kind of like the snakes, like they could be anywhere. And these yellow jackets tend to nest in
the ground,
cutting the ground, under fallen logs, under like mounds of dead leaves and things. So they're ground hornets or ground yellow jackets. I don't know what you call them, but hopefully
I hit one patch this while doing trail work this year. Over the summer, I hit a patch and I was off trail. I was going around a down tree looking for an alternative route. And I moved a branch that was on the ground and I stirred up a nest. But that's all I've run into the entire time I've been out there. So that's not to say like I didn't do the entire course, but they're out there. So yeah. Okay. Wildlife we talked about. Training. I hope you guys have been training. It's a little late.
Tomorrow.
Course marking. Let's talk a little bit about course marking. I don't have any.
I mean, I could take a picture of that and show them, but it's in your book.
It is in there. But the way the course is marked, we use flagging that goes in the ground, and they're pink and have the Ultranaut running logo on them. It's in black. And then we put like little reflective tape on top of that and staple that to that. And then we also use ribbons in the trees.
The bulk of it is going to be ribbons in the tree.
We'll use both. I actually try to rotate that.
Alternate.
Just depends how things are looking. But the ribbons in the trees will have 2 ribbons. They'll have a pink ribbon and then a yellow-black checkerboard, and they'll have the reflective tape on them as well. The other thing we'll use out there are like little arrows that normally we'll just staple those to like a tree or something if there's a big turn. But it's I normally will not just put like one arrow and call it a day. Like I like to mark,
light it up.
If it's a turn, I like to mark, and I'm not going to be the only one course marking. Hopefully I did have some people reach out and say they'd help, but the way that I like to mark and I direct people to mark is before the turn, have a flag or a ribbon. and then, if it's a big turn, have an arrow, and then at least 2 more in the turn. There's normally 3 to 4 markings at a big turn, and likely an arrow there as well. We do use some of the, like, you've seen like the political yard sign type things. We have those with arrows as well. But those, they're non-political, yeah. They are nonpartisan. That's what they are.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, but those are typically, we don't put those in the middle of the trail. We don't make sweepers like carry those out
Road.
in the trail. Those will be at road crossings and stuff where we can drive up and put those at the trail. So I like to mark about every I like to mark about every 2/10. Sometimes that gets a little spread out, but no more than a quarter of a mile. Like, so I do like to put like the confident markers out for people. So, but about every 2/10 of a mile is what I typically mark. And then obviously, like, if a big cross like turn comes, I'll mark that pretty well. So I think we do a pretty good job with marking. At least we've been told that. I've kind of learned in the past, and I've run races that haven't been marked as well, and I don't like that. I don't like being a race director and being nervous about people getting lost, because then we're panicking and we have to go looking for people and figuring things out. Now, that being said, we've had issues in the past where not just people have tampered with the markings, but animals have tampered with the marking, particularly in this race, where they've pulled down markings out of the trees, the ribbons. They've really liked those flags in the ground. They've like bent those over and stuff. And so you may come across that out on the trail where like you'll see markers that have been even nibbled at and stuff, like kind of destroyed. And we found, like, I don't know if it's the deer. I don't know if it's there are hogs in the area as well. I've never even seen a hog out there, but I know they're out there. But then, yeah, you could also have, where people mess with markings. And we had that at our May race, Yamacraw. Someone intentionally moved and removed about a mile of course, and luckily someone found it. So yeah, Bigfoot. So yeah, I think we do a pretty good job of marking, but where I was kind of leading with that is, and we said it in the manual, is I would have a backup map. I would probably put the GPX either on my watch, and hopefully you guys have tested that out. Some of the watches are better than others with that, with the the turn by turn stuff. I actually, and I know not everybody likes to run with their phone, but I have really found that Gaia GPS app to be the best. It's fantastic, and it's really, the maps for Big South Fork and Daniel Boone and Pickett are pretty spot on. So if you're inclined to take, I would be inclined to take a map with me, download it to an app like Gaia, and have your phone. You can leave it in airplane mode the entire time, or you could go back and forth, and you can still use the map, and it'll show you where you're at in airplane mode. So I definitely recommend it, just in case there's an issue that we can't control, where a section may have been pulled or something, somebody does something dumb. And I don't know. I don't even like to think about that, because that's, like I said, it's so stressful when people are getting lost, especially when you've marked that section really well, and you get out there and you find like somebody's done something to your marking, which is dangerous. So let's see.
Bigfoot, no.
Two people said Bigfoot. One in Facebook and one in YouTube.
But you could be the first. Make us all famous.
Going down the list here, we do not have like live tracking with like GPS type spot GPS. We did that the first like 2 or 3 years, and they just don't work very well in this area with all the tree coverage. They're not reliable, and it, just like I was saying with the course marking stress, this caused even more stress for us because we'd be kind of following along, and crews would be following along, and like their runner would show that they were at a place like 3 hours ago and they haven't moved. Well, what happened is like maybe their battery died, and we don't have 300 GPS spot GPSs. We had to like rent that from a company, and like we get them and not all of them were charged, and or like because of coverage, it makes them look like they've gone a mile off course when really it's just a bad reading or something like that. So anyway, we went away from that. We Our timing company that we work with, Good Times, we've been working with them for a lot of years now. They do our other races as well. They're great and super professional and great guys. They don't just help do timing, they put on races as well, so they get it. And they'll have mats along the course, not the entire course, but at about, I think like maybe 7 or 8 points. Blue Heron, because you do a loop there, you hit that twice, obviously start finishing, and there's other aid stations out there like Bandy, I said Blue Heron, Duncan Hollow, Ledbetter, Peters Mountain. We've got mats out there, and those areas either will have Wi-Fi or some sort of cell coverage, so they'll be able to push those results or those times up. So people that are watching or trying to follow along, they can jump on Run Sign Up, go to the results page, and once that gets going here shortly, like the results page will update with when it has this year's results, it'll update with those times all the way through the finish. We also, Run Sign Up offers a tracking app called Race Joy, which we turn on, and we let you guys use it. We just don't really manage it besides turning it on, but you can, we put some information in the manual, and you can look for Race Joy by Run Sign Up to get more information. But basically the way that works is like with your phone. The trick obviously is if you're going to do that for a race like this, 2 things. One is the cell coverage is bad in some areas, and then it picks up in other areas, and it's just sporadic, so it's not reliable. And then you got to come up with some sort of like battery plan, because if you're going to keep your phone on to ping, every time it gets into a cell area, it needs to be out of airplane mode, so that'll kill your battery life. So if you're planning to use it, and I think some people did try it out last year, just come up with like maybe you have additional batteries with your crew or in your drop bags or something like that. So yeah, feel free to give that a try. We don't really, if you have questions about that, I think we'll probably end up pointing you to Good Times. I think Gordon and Sean can probably give you more information than I can. Or you can even ask, probably, I would get on Run Sign Up, and they've got like an FAQ and stuff. So,
okay. Since we're on Race Joy, will there be Wi-Fi? There's Wi-Fi at the start finish area. And we're having that set up by is it just one communications company this time?
Sure.
We've got 2 communications companies that come in and set up Wi-Fi for us at Group Camp, at Pickett. No, yeah, that is Pickett. So like at the Rec Lodge at Pickett near the swinging bridge.
So the last aid station will also have Wi-Fi.
At Bandy Creek and at Blue Heron.
Yep.
You'll have Wi-Fi access. Before dropping down to Blue Heron, you're in the town of Stearns, so you might be able to, like for the crew, they'll drive through Stearns. There might be, if they stop for food or anything, there's a Kroger. There might be a couple places the crew can pick it up there. Obviously, runners won't be going through there. So yeah, so there's 4 places on the course that we're having Wi-Fi set up for you.
Yeah. And then like there's some aid stations that are just high enough out of the gorge or the river area that have some cell service. So Peters Mountain
and along that ridge of Divide Road when you're up high.
Yeah, Peters Mountain typically has some cell coverage. I think Spring Branch had decent. Yeah, Alex said Spring Branch did have decent cell coverage. I think around Bald Knob there's some, and definitely like when you get to sort of the higher areas on your way to Ledbetter has a little bit. Spring Branch, or not Spring Branch, I already mentioned that. Spring Branch does. Laurel Hill definitely has some there. Duncan Hollow does not. Duncan's one of
it's in the hollow.
Yeah. I don't know that Grand Gap does.
Not really.
That I can remember. Bandy will have the Wi-Fi. Cell coverage is kind of spotty around Bandy, but there will be Wi-Fi around the aid station. The only other one that I think I can't remember if Charrette has it. Probably not. I don't know if Sawmill does either. It's just it's all over the place. So yeah.
Group camp now. Oh, nice.
Oh, so that was Travis chiming in. Travis Stover is the park manager for Pickett, and he just chimed in and said that AT&T at the group camp, the start finish, has pretty good coverage there. So let me mention something real quick. Right. So just because I want to give a shout out also to Highland Communications and Twin Lakes for setting up Wi-Fi there. They're sponsors and they've helped us out. So glad to have them.
Can I skip to this?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really in gear. This will help you planning. So Sword has 120 calories per serving. I just pulled it up. Let me check that that's 8 ounces. We mix it per their specifications as close as we can, so you know what you're getting in your hydration. It says that's for the serving size. 16.9 fluid ounces. So actually in 8 ounces, you're getting closer to 60 calories. And then I went ahead, since that was the question, our gel sponsor is Huma.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know what flavors we got? Did we get that mango?
I think we got strawberry, mango. Shoot, I can't remember. There was a couple. They just kind of gave us.
Did you get the Energy Gel Plus, like the extra calorie one, or they're all 100 calories?
I think they're all the 100 ones.
So the Humas are right at 100 calories per gel.
Yeah. And I think I said this in the email with the gels, like just we've seen this, and I know other race directors have talked about this as well.
Don't get to the first aid station and grab 5.
Yeah, like
we don't have enough for that. We have them spread out at every aid station on the course.
So yeah, like be like, if you need one, get one.
Definitely.
If you need to get one, if you need one while you're there and you need one on the go, that's fine. But remember, like, other people are going to need them too. So don't go grabbing a handful of gels.
Oh, that's no, I mean, that's fine.
What are you responding to?
So new question from Delia. Can someone stop and give you a hug? Of course. We're not going to stop. Now they can't like, if they're not at the aid station, they can be at the aid station. Your family can come, like, you can bring, they can all come to Bandicoot. You can have them walk over to the pavilion. They can hang out with you while you're at the aid station. They can massage your feet. I don't know. I mean, they can come to the aid station. They don't have to be registered crew. We don't really have that. So, but if you're leaving the aid station and say you're almost to the trail and you run into them and they want to give you a hug, of course, they just can't slip you anything or carry anything for you down the road. So, I mean, that's.
Yeah. They can't mule for you is what they can't. So they can't, like, carry stuff for you. They can't give, if you're out of the aid station, you know, I mean, within the vicinity,
Yeah.
yes, they can, you know, you can, if it's busy at the aid station, like, and you want to get a bit away from it, you can
Yeah, like-
walk away from it. But I mean, what we're saying is like, you have a crew member kind of meet you somewhere in the middle of the course and like provide you aid, let you get in their car, whatever, you know, like that. So,
But yeah, hugs everywhere. I mean,
yeah.
what else have we got? Guy airplane mode. We take it out of. So I don't know. You have to answer that. My eyes look huge. Do that.
I'm reading Bonnie's question about if, and maybe somebody knows this. I don't know that I've ever run into this issue, but she's saying if we are using Gaia in airplane mode and we take it out of airplane mode, we will lose our map if we don't have service. I don't know that that's the case or not. It's worth trying out. Okay, well, somebody answered that. Yeah, I had never run into that issue, but yeah, I think they're pre-downloaded on the with the app, so I don't think that's a problem. So I know there's some other apps out there like Trail Run Project and stuff. And I've recommended those in the past as well. I don't, nothing against Trail Run Project. I just feel like the maps in Gaia are so much like all the trails are there, even, you know, and they're easy to read. But I know like some of those apps, like you download areas before, like I know Trail Run Project, you could download the state of Kentucky and the state of Tennessee. I think Gaia just has them built in, like when you download the app, I think they're included, but. And I did put the GPX, I mean, you can download it. I did put it on Gaia. I don't know if it should be public, but I may look into that, but you definitely can download the GPX and upload it to whatever app or your watch, like if you're putting it on a Coros or a Garmin or something.
Available offline. Yeah, so there shouldn't be an issue. I think we've had quite a few chime in to help answer that one.
Okay. Let's talk about gear list. We don't have a huge like mandatory gear list. You are allowed to use poles. No pets, so you can't run with a dog or anything like that. What else? We do require that you carry a space blanket type thing or a bivvy or something, just in case you run in. We do have a couple of those extras at aid stations.
We have them at all aid stations, but we don't have 200 at every aid station.
Right. So I think it's really important that, and some packs even come, I know like my Solomon pack came with one, but you can buy like a 10 pack of them on Amazon for like $8, $9. So, you know, if it were me, and I don't know what the weather's going to be like at the moment, it's been fairly mild here. It hasn't really got that cool, but kind of looking ahead,
nights are getting colder.
We could end up if we end up having the like 60s in the day and 40s at night, to me that's like perfect. I would throw like a few of those little space blankets in your drop bags or whatever, and I would just have one in your pack. Like just keep one in your pack at all times, because if you're out there and you get cold, you run into an issue. I would definitely have one. Obviously headlamp, you know, you're going to want that.
Batteries, extra batteries.
Yep. I mean, most of that's no brainer, but like there's nothing on our mandatory gear list besides just wanting you to carry some kind of space blanket with your bivvy. So, and then that EpiPen, I'm just going to say it again. If you just joined us, or I just want to stress, like, if you have an EpiPen, if you know you're allergic to
anything, really.
anything,
that severely, you
I
might as
would,
well.
I would definitely bring an EpiPen if you have one, or get one. I would bring some Benadryl or something like that, just in case. Just, you don't want to be out, and I mean, this parts of this course are super remote. It can take time to get to you. You don't want to run into an issue where like you're having a what's the word? Epileptic.
Anaphylactic shock.
Anaphylactic shock. Yeah. Thank you.
What kind of, okay, we can skip to food because the rest is, well, not the rest, but we can circle back. We can skip to food. Duck Hollow will have loaded potato, vegan butternut squash, chicken broth, and veggie broth. All aid stations besides the first couple, because it's just too much for those short aid stations to set up. Let's say aid station 4 on will have, all of them will have chicken broth and veggie broth. Some of the aid stations will bring their own special soups, like homemade chicken noodle. And we will be sending out some additional soups to other aid stations. I'm also sending instant mashed potatoes that you can put in the soup. We will have boiled potatoes that you can eat with the salt, but if you need some extra carbs or some extra calories, we'll have some instant mashed potatoes. You can just throw in any kind of broth, because I believe those are at least vegetarian, if not vegan. And obviously somewhat gluten-free. I don't know about potatoes. And we're looking at other add-ins for the broths. We will have some cup ramen sent out. So you have to talk to Laurel Hill about the chocolate chip cookies. That is their specialty.
Yeah.
And it is a secret recipe. So they will not be a course-wide thing. And there was enough for the last runner, because she even brought a few back after the race last year. So
I got one. I got a cookie last year
too, after years of hearing about these cookies. So if you're waiting for a special cookie, wait till Laurel Hill, because apparently that one, I do have to vouch, they were amazing. If there's any giant potato, if there's any like huge requests, we're trying to do pierogies for a lot of the overnight stations. That's all based on what I can find and availability locally. One year I could not get them at all, and we had them at maybe 2 aid stations, because I called friends and we're like, if you're coming down for the race, bring us pierogies. But last year we were able to get them for a majority of the aid stations. I know that's a big hit. So any other requests we might be able to do at 1 or 2 aid stations. A lot of the aid stations, as you get past kind of lunchtime on Friday, are going to have kind of special foods as you move through. They won't all have the exact same thing. Obviously, they're all going to have like granola bars and
chips,
chips and pretzels, and really basic aid station stuff like pickles and all the boring stuff. But as far as the special stuff, that will change throughout your journey, hopefully to fit the time of day that you're going to be hitting the aid station, and also the weather. Some warmer foods, more hot foods as you go through the middle of the night. As the bulk of people are coming through breakfast hours, hopefully we have more breakfast foods. So we're trying to plan that for you guys that way. Mini pancakes. There will be a lot of pancake mix out on the course. So maybe not every aid station, but some.
Let's see. I'm just looking at a couple questions on YouTube. Timothy S. I think Timothy S. about sword. Somebody asked about electrolyte. It's sword. It's I've heard a lot of people say it's just very similar. It's like kind of similar to like Tailwind. They're different companies, but same type of thing. What else did I see? Will there be Wi-Fi at the start finish to start Race Joy? Yes, Wi-Fi will be there.
Back to food, avocados. Not every aid station, but there'll be some that have more like lunch wraps, like deli meat and like salady stuff, that we'll try to send them there. And And then as the earlier aid stations that may or may not have them, that's something we'll definitely send out, because I don't want 100 avocados at my house the next week, because it'd be gross. Boiled baby potatoes, yes.
Bananas have been an
Every
issue,
aid
haven't
station. Excuse me, yes. One year we had to return $300 worth of bananas because they were green 2 weeks after the race. And not any green. They were like this green.
They never got ripe.
So everything is based on availability. Bananas, oranges, grapes are our main fruit. There's also, probably applesauce pouches. And if something happens where we can't get bananas or we can't get oranges, I'll do like peach cups or something else to give you guys like a vitamin C kind of sugar rush, maybe some heavy syrup peaches. But we try to kind of maintain that core aid station food at every aid station, no matter the availability.
Okay. Food, any recommended? Someone asked a question on YouTube about recommendation for a type or brand of drop bags, such as soft-sided lunch boxes, dry bags, something large enough for a pair of shoes, some essentials. Does anybody want to chime in on that? I see. I would say a dry bag.
This is no.
That's a no.
No.
None of those. But yeah, I would say, to me, like, yeah, the 2.5 gallon Ziplocs are fine. What are those called? The dry bags. As long as they're not, like duffel bag size, something like that's fine.
That's a good size.
Shout out to Hoka. But like, yeah, the suitcases and
hard-sided stuff.
Like definitely people will use backpacks, I've seen, but some of the backpacks were getting like insane. It was like
60-liter packs.
Yeah, huge, like, yeah, huge packs. So like, and we actually had volunteers reach out to us about that, about the ridiculousness of some of the drop bags. They were just getting like out of control,
like
hard to manage,
or like, I mean, I understand some of you guys might want cold, like we have ice at the aid stations. Like, you don't need to pack a cooler unless something's going to spoil. Like, if you have severe dietary restrictions or not, you can take a cooler, you can take the food you need, because we want you to be able to fuel yourself and complete the race. That's completely separate. But if you're just like, I want a cold Coke, we have ice. Like, we can make your stuff cold. And I don't think it's gonna be like sweltering this year anyway. So
yeah, we're just in that transition period with the weather that I don't know. We're still 2 weeks out. I really don't even start looking at the weather until the week of, and even then it can go back. October's just crazy. So okay, so bibs, by now, if you don't know, bibs have been assigned. You can jump on Run Sign Up where you registered, and there's like a find a participant link on the No Business Run Sign Up page, and you can go search for yourself and find your bib number. Make sure that you label your bib with your number,
drop bag with your number.
Your drop bag rather.
And which aid station? If you
yeah, I transitioned into drop bags, didn't I? Drop bags, you want to have your bib number, your name, and definitely put the aid station you want it to go to, because just in case, one of those gets mixed up. We'll try to keep those separated and stuff, but just I would make sure you put all that information on there. So I'm just looking over the drop bag stuff again.
You can drop bags on Thursday and Friday. We may We're thinking about having tents set up for drop bags. If it's absolutely like typhooning, we would probably axe that plan. But we like to create more space in the hall for everybody. And
Drop bags take up so much space.
So much space.
Yeah.
So we're thinking about trying to place staging outside. So those will, if you drop them Thursday, they'll be available Friday for you to rummage through if you need to change something, or it got cold or hot and you want to change your drop bag. One year we pulled them and there are people who wanted to change things and we were like, well, that was silly of us. So we've talked it through and decided that this is the plan for right now. We're going to have a staging area outside under tents on tarps to keep your things dry and safe. And there'll be someone awake 24/7, I'm sure. So there'll be someone awake and around. And there's so much activity that we're not worried about animals or anything. So
hold off on
it. Can be the morning if there is.
Catherine, I see your question about crew coming to Duncan Hollow. The answer to that right now is no. Only pacers can go down there, but I need to talk with my aid station captain about what that has looked like down there at Duncan Hollow. And if he feels like, because I've not been down there during the the real busy time. If he tells me that it just gets too much with the crew down there, and I don't think, because it's a 4-mile hike or bike down there, I don't think it would, but I just, let me confirm that, because somebody else asked me that earlier in the week and I said no. But with you're not even the second person to ask about that. So that could be a last minute. Okay. So Karen, who's in the chat, works at aid station and she says it's crowded and busy. So let me just confirm with that group that works at aid station and make sure that, but as of right now, no, if you're a pacer, because it's such a long stretch to go from Blue Heron all the way to Duncan, and then from Duncan all the way into Bandy, people like to swap out at that point. And and when we go the other direction, we have a shuttle, but in this overnight hour, there's only one shuttling company that I know of that has permission to work in the Big South Fork, and we're not able to get their services overnight. So, so at the moment, no, but if that changes, I'll certainly let everybody know. So.
Best question of the night. Is there beer at the finish?
There will be beer at the finish, yes. And we're stoked because we are teaming up with a brewery that we work with also for Yamacrawl. It's called Jarfly Brewing Company out of Somerset, Kentucky. They actually one year made a Yamacrawl dark brew for us. So we're great. They're great guys. We're happy that they're able to come down and have beer for us. So I think though it might be party keg type setup for the finish. They will be at Packet Pickup, but they've got a big event on Saturday, so they won't be there. But it'll probably be keg based. So no keg stands, though, Dave. You either, John.
Kentucky bourbon. I don't know. It might have to be Tennessee whiskey, because that's the side we're finishing on. Could be both.
Oh, that's gonna be a fight.
But we're not guaranteeing that. The beer is there.
Yeah.
And machine shop one.
1 year we were.
You have to fight.
You have to fight
for best pacer.
Oh. Yeah, I think 1 year. I don't know if Alex is on here, but our buddy Alex was working an aid station. I'm not going to say where it was, but basically they were calling it the bar. Not Alex, the runners were calling it the bar, because it was more of, there was less food going on and more like, what do you want? We've got this bourbon, this bourbon, this bourbon, this bourbon. So you know how those Kentucky guys like to roll.
Athletic Run Wild.
What?
Athletic Run Wild.
Athletic Run Wild. I don't know. Dave, you're on YouTube. Can you clarify what you're asking there? Athletic Run Wild. Is that a brand? Not familiar with.
Bourbon apple ciders. That was my favorite invention, discovery thing last year.
One last thing on the drop bags before I move on. Don't use black garbage bags. We had that happen one year, and I think someone mistook those bags for trash, and they got thrown in a dumpster, and we were sorting through the trash later that evening. So, okay. So, just to clarify on that question about Duncan Hollow and the crew, we in the crew guide it says no. In the runner's manual, pacers can go down there. We don't want crew down there. It just gets too busy. So let's we'll just continue with what we had in the crew guide. No pacers down there. Just crew can hike or bike in. So,
and Christy asked about double buckle. So when you finish and you're a double buckle finisher, you get both at the same time, like right at the finish line. So you can do photos with both your crew and your family if they're there, or that's awesome race directors. You can take photos under the big finish line with both your buckles. You don't have to come back for your double.
But if you would like to, I think what we did last year was really cool. We brought everybody up that had gotten their double buckle that year, and we'll probably be doing that again. So I have to say, like, and we get it, like a lot of you can't stick around. You got, jobs to get to and family and everything. But it's really been pretty special the last couple of years as we've moved to Pickett. Like, it's just a better setup for a race start finish than what we had before. So we've found like people have stuck around and waited to the last finishers come through, and it's really had the like great community feel.
And if I was gonna say, if you're not staying at the start finish, but you have a car there, there's showers there. There's plenty of quiet spaces, dark spaces. Like if you finish and you want to go take a nap or you want to freshen up, there's space for that, or go back to your lodging and come back and
athletic brewing,
have some food and hang out. We'll have 2 food trucks this year serving food, and then we'll have beer too, and I'm sure we'll have leftovers from,
and we'll have we're gonna have live music as well. So we've got like a husband wife kind of bluegrassy band that's coming up to play some music. So we'll probably have bonfire going, or like little campfires and stuff around the finish and stuff. Like, say hi.
Say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Will there be bourbon at the finish? Oh, there will be bourbon at the finish. Definitely. Yeah. Hey, Alex. All right. Okay. So schedule of events. Go over that real quick as I'm going down this. What? Oh,
He just saying hi.
Hey, James. James with Fentress County EMA is on here. Those guys are awesome. They set up our communications tower and lend us radios to help us with all our communications for race weekend. They also are pretty much on call in case any emergency happens. So if anybody does get stung by a bee, we're going to be calling James and his team. And James, by the way, remind me, give me a shout this week. We need to chat about maybe having your crew set up at the start finish this year with your emergency bus vehicle. Be nice to have them so we could get, anyway, we'll chat on that.
Yeah,
But-
Megan asked, are there women's products there will be women's products at all the aid stations, in the bathrooms at group camp. We provide extras, just in case for anybody. I mean, heck, get a big gash, they're helpful too, you know.
Yeah, we are a Trail Sisters official race, right?
Yes,
So that's part of what being a Trail Sisters race is. So
you can say goodnight. This
Oh.
is the other one. Can you wave? They can see you, but you can't see them. Can you say goodnight as well? Iggy, say goodnight.
all right.
Try. There's a camera. They can see what you're saying.
Hey, Chris, that question about the pre-race meal, if you want to go ahead, you can on a run sign up. And if you need to purchase one or purchase one for someone, if you get on run sign up and go under, get in your profile and then manage, there should be add-ons, like find the add-ons and you can add on pre-race meals, you can add on bunkhouse, that kind of stuff, if you need to add that stuff on. So. Yeah, ibuprofen is bad.
There's some pain stuff at aid stations. And Benadryl, we bought Benadryl for every aid station. So there are some extras, like we'll have the salty britches.
Yeah.
And just the regular Vaseline tubs too. There's some diaper cream because people use that for the same reason, for the anti-chafe.
Yeah. I'm glad Shell mentioned Salty Britches. So they're a new sponsor this year, and they will have product across. I think he said they're going to have some product at every aid station, and then they're giving in your swag bags. You'll get a sample as well. So really stoked to be working with those guys at Salty Britches. What else? I was kind of talking about hey buddy. Buddy. So yeah, packet pickup starts at 1 Central Time on Thursday, and we'll go through the evening. We'll be there all night. So if you get there late and you want to drop off drop bags or whatever, that's fine. The meal will probably start around 4-ish, and then we will start around 7. We'll do kind of like we're doing tonight, but in person, and take questions and stuff, and be able to give you a little bit more like details as we get closer to the race on like weather and any other issues that may come up.
Oh, and for the vegans, I think, and vegetarians, we didn't realize last year, but this year all the vegetables will be cooked in olive oil instead of butter, and anything non-meat product related will be, if it needs some kind of thing, it'll be non-animal product, grease, oil, whichever, most likely olive oil for most of the cooking. So there'll be some more options for you guys there too.
The start of the race is at 8 Central Time on Friday. Tony, to answer your question about the packet, you can get your packet race morning. So even if you get there late Thursday night, don't worry about it. You can pick your packet up in the morning.
If you're staying at group camp, come in the rec hall and check. I mean, we might be up all night doing stuff.
Probably will
get
be.
your packet. If it's a drive for you, like if you're not staying within a reasonable driving distance to come up and drive back and it's super late, then I'd just say get it in the morning. But if you're staying up really close or you're staying at group camp, just come on up, because I'm sure someone will be awake even after, what is it, 8 p.m., 9 p.m., whenever we said that was over. That shouldn't be a big deal.
And then the race officially ends at 5 on Saturday. So, and then we'll like we kind of talked about, we'll have post race activities going on. There's gonna be live music. We'll have beer and food trucks will be there and everything. So, all right. Kind of talked about all that stuff. I think we've mostly talked about the aid stations as far as food. Hey guys, go downstairs. Go downstairs.
Go share that with Ian.
Again, with cutoff times, they're almost all of them are, besides a couple, they're strict. You got to be leaving when the cutoff time is, not arriving. For those soft cutoffs, we talked about this at the start, but let me mention it again. It's soft, but there's really just like a 15-minute window at the most. We have those soft cutoffs at a couple of those aid stations that are like really hard to extract runners out of. So if you come in, a couple minutes late or whatever, or you're right coming in right when it's like the actual hard cutoff is, and you're at one of these soft cutoff aid stations and you're still moving fine, you're okay, you've not delayed the race, the sweeper hasn't said like, oh, this girl's
Or
like,
you've come in early and you've had to sit, like you've had nausea, you've been tired, foot issues, you've had to sit, and it's like, oh, we're gonna let you go.
yeah.
Because you can make up that time. That's
What we just don't want is people that are showing up a half hour late and they're hanging out trying to recover, and they're like, well, it's a soft cutoff, he said I could leave whenever. Because like, we can't do that, because there's people down the line, there's volunteers down the line, you got the sweepers that we can't make them wait an extra 2 hours for people to finish or get through their aid station.
Sweepers, the last set of sweepers had to wait like 4 hours
after
the cutoff. So we can't do that to people. That's just not fair.
So just kind of understand what that means with the soft cutoffs. Like you get a little bit of leeway at those, because we want to try to get people out of those aid stations moving on, so we don't have to worry about trying to extract them there. But if it's going to cause problems down the line for the sweepers and volunteers, we are not. And if it's just obvious, like, you're not going to make that cutoff regardless. If you're not moving well and you're already coming in late, then we will pull you. So,
Okay.
no. I do want to say, so a really, really important thing that I need to talk about real quick as far as crewing and parking. And I'm not going to get into all the details of it, but it's very important that you park in designated places, and that for one, like, some of these aid stations are out in the back country. Don't park in the road. You need to get off the road. If it means you can't park as close as you want, that you're just going to have to deal with that and park a little bit further out and make sure you're off the road. If we have to get an emergency vehicle in there or something else, or like the one year at Bald Knob where a school bus couldn't get by because crew were parked in blocking the road, that's a big deal. And, that comes back on us. So, please make sure that you're not parking in a way that blocks people. The other big thing, and this was really important that I stress this, it is what it is. It is what it is. At Bandy Creek, nobody is permitted to park in grass.
At all.
Anywhere. Not for our race, at least. We're not allowed to park in grass at all. And that there's a big field that we've parked people in years past, crew wise. We're not allowed to use that anymore. So you must park in designated parking spaces, and in the crew guide, you'll be able to find where those spots are. So
And we will have volunteers who are very aware of this and can help you find a parking spot. If you're having trouble, circle back around and ask someone like, okay, I checked over here, I checked here, I can't find, they'll help you park. If you're crewing, you'll have tons of time by the time you're doing bandy to find a park and walk over and get your crew, because it's just so late in the race. To get your runner. So that's kind of a sticking point. That's super, super important. We're going to go over it again in the pre-race briefing and really emphasize it. And it's kind of the blocking the road and the parking on the grass kind of are things that could affect the future of the race even existing. So they're super, super important.
Yeah. And you guys are, you are coming for the race, but you are visitors to the park. So, anywhere that there's a parking space, obviously you want that you don't want to park in somebody's campsite parking, and take there. But like, if there's a parking lot and a parking space, you're allowed to park there. So just don't park in the grass. We've been warned. So
you've been warned.
Yeah, you've been warned as well. Yeah. And the other thing that I want to mention, kind of on this same note, is these are public lands. These are public trails. Be respectful. Like, we don't have, the trails are not like closed off to the race. So I'm sure you will see backpackers and hikers and maybe some mountain bikers out there, and just be courteous of them. Make sure that you're not running them off the trails and blowing by. Like, you can blow by them, but like don't run them off the trails and stuff. And just be courteous of the, because they're a guest just like we're guests. So yes. I will. Another thing I'll mention in this whole thing, as far as crewing, obey safety, obey traffic laws. Don't park in no parking spots. Don't park in handicap spots unless you have a handicap parking space, whatever. Yeah.
Don't speed.
Just be aware that they're on the lookout for that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I know there's a lot of extra visitors and a lot of extra revenue can come from tickets. And that also, granted, there are going to be people who get tickets that weekend that have nothing to do with the race. But if there's a huge uptick, they're going to look at the race as a cause for this, and they're going to be safety concerns because of this. So we really need to emphasize that the speed limits are definitely enforced on this weekend, as they should be, I guess, at any
time. Let's see. We've gone. Kind of talked to. Does anybody have any questions about pacing? Kind of scrolling down here through the list, and we've kind of gone over pacing. I mentioned that you saw probably in the email that I did change. What are they doing?
Sorry. They're popping bubble wrap.
We are allowing you to start. A pacer can start right as you get into Blue Heron. You don't have to do the full loop first, and then while you're leaving Blue Heron. We decided with it getting kind of dark for some people, and then just, it's a great little loop. I mean, it's not an easy loop, but it's a great little loop that if someone wanted to come in and do a 6-mile loop with the runner, they can come in and do that. So anyway, so yeah, you can start pacing right when you can have a pacer start with you right at Blue Heron. Some of the typical rules about pacing: only one pacer at a time. You can only meet them at crew access aid stations besides Duncan Hollow, where you can actually hike down into or ride into Duncan Hollow to meet your runner. And you can have total access to the aid station just like the runner. So if you need fuel, if you need food, you can
order quesadilla.
You can get that as well. I think that's mostly, obviously carry supplies for the runners and stuff like that. So no muling, but pretty typical for 100-mile races like this. So we've talked about the food and stuff at aid stations. I think we've pretty much gone over the cutoffs and stuff. One thing that I will say too is if you drop out, if you
decide to leave
if
the
you-
course
if
at
you-
all.
yeah, if you're done, if you're like I'm just gonna DNF, please make sure that you relay that information to the aid station where you're dropping and the aid station captain. Make sure that they write it down, make sure that they know. We don't want to go looking thinking you're still out on the course and haven't seen you in hours, to find out that you're already back at your hotel or somewhere sleeping, and we're panicking, calling your emergency contact, like have they contacted you? Just if you are done, if you're going to drop out of the race, please, like it's so important that you make sure that the aid station knows. Okay.
And I do have to say this, at some of the later aid stations, you guys have been up for a long time. They've been up for a long time. Like, just make sure that that information is conveyed, because we had some confusion last year where they were definitely, oh, I told someone at the aid station, make sure you tell someone who writes it down, or ask who the aid station captain is or who's taking care of drops. There should be someone at every aid station that's writing down bib numbers coming in and coming out. That is the person you really need to talk to and say, hey, I'm leaving. I'm going with my crew. I'm done. Whenever someone can pick me up, I'd like to be picked up, or, whatever. But just make sure it's conveyed. And I know it's so hard. You guys, if you're 30 hours in and you're like, I'm done, they're probably 24 hours in. So everybody's tired. But it is really important, just for everybody's safety and sanity.
And if you do drop at an aid station and you don't have crew there, and like, you just be prepared. Like, we'll do our best to get you out of there. If you can hitch a ride with some other crew or something like that, that happens all the time. But with some of these aid stations, they are kind of remote, and like Laurel Hill, for example, people drop out there and it gets kind of crazy. Just not crazy. I just mean, like, that road's a narrow road. You can't have a lot of cars going back there. That's why it's not a crew access one. So we will have people trying to pull people out of there, extracting them, but that can take time. So if you do drop out, please, like, be prepared to maybe have to wait or try to get a ride from someone, if you're at a crew spot.
Don't be
But-
afraid to ask. Like,
Yeah.
just yell out into the air. Anybody going anywhere? Because if you're at somewhere like Blue Heron or Bandy, where there's crew and there's lots of crew, even if they're not taking their runner with them, they're moving in the direction you want to go. So just yell out, hey, can I catch a ride with anyone? Or ask, if you're like, I have to lie down, ask your volunteers, like, hey, could you help me find a ride? They're not afraid to shout it out either. So a lot of times it's where you don't quite expect it. It may not be waiting for one of the race officials to come and get you, or a volunteer to take you somewhere. It might be just, hey, anybody moving down the road, like, can I get to the next spot? Because that may be your quickest option. And also sometimes that option, maybe they're waiting for their runner. They're going to be another 2 hours. But it's a great way to keep everybody moving from the aid stations, if it's one of the crewed aid stations, of course.
I think that is most of what I wanted to go over from the
I'm not seeing many other questions.
volunteers. we still could use some volunteers. So if anybody, if you know people that might be interested, you know, I kind of say that with everything I put out, but I'm just quickly looking. If you're crewing, be sure to look over the crew guide. The directions are all in there. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us. Again, let me stress one more time: no parking in grass at Bandy Creek or at Blue Heron. Like, park in designated parking spots. So, and I don't know. I think that's mostly it.
Yeah, any other questions?
Unless people have more questions.
I haven't seen them come across for a little while, so I think
So
good.
I think that's it. So again, if anything comes up in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, you have any questions, oh yeah, Alex asked about volunteers. Yeah, we were going to actually get that done today, but we got caught up with stuff. But
Over the weekend.
we'll create
Thank you
those
for
group meet chats to get all the volunteers chatting and stuff. But yeah, if you have any more questions, either send us an email or hit us up on social media or whatever. I think that's it. I think. Any other questions? No. Cool. Okay. Well, hopefully we'll have great weather. Hopefully, the temperatures drop a little bit from what they've been. It's still been a little bit warm here. Not too bad. The mornings have been nice, but it's still been getting up into the 80s or close to the 80s. Hopefully we're looking more at like 60s and 40s at night. But we'll see. Yeah, besides that, thank you all for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
It was great, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. It's gonna get here really
Did you
quick.
want to sneak the finisher thing on here?
Oh,
Since you did that?
no, but I did want to say before we get out, I did want to say, two of our biggest sponsors that I didn't really mention tonight, obviously Hoka, they're going through a transition this year. Our main rep, she left, but Cassie is who we've been working with the past couple of years, and she's really fantastic. She's been overloaded with stuff going on at Hoka, but I talked to her last night. She's such an advocate for our race and such a great person, and we're just blessed to have teamed up with Hoka, and we're thrilled that relationship continues. Also, Cumberland Transit out of Nashville. If you're not familiar with them, they're an outfitter, an outdoor store in Nashville. Probably the best outfitter you'll find, especially in the Southeast. If you're in that area, be sure to stop by there. Jason, the general manager, the part owner, he's a great guy. He's done No Business. He's if you haven't seen his documentary, he ran No Business both directions in one push. It's called The No. It's on YouTube. You should look it up. But they're a great store. They're great people, and they're a great sponsor, and we're happy to be teaming up with them as well. So yeah, to all our sponsors, everybody, we're so grateful, to the community of McCreary County and the folks in Jamestown, and all the local communities, especially the local people that come out and support this race and volunteer. We're super grateful for everything you guys do, and we're still. I think we're growing. We're selling out much quicker now. I think we sold out in what was it? I can't even remember. It was real quick, and we're grateful for that. But we're still we still have that small feel, that small community feel, and I think we like that. We like having great sponsors and those names that you like, those brands as backing us, but we like that. We still kind of have that small local feel for 100, and kind of not gone very not passed over to the big corporate side of things. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking and let you guys go, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. So
Bye, guys.
have a
See
great
you
night.
soon.
See you guys soon. Bye. I got to figure out how to turn this off.